Do diets cause eating disorders? Not necessarily. However, they are one major predictor and of increasing the likelihood that you may develop an eating disorder at a later period in time. This is especially true for our extreme diets or diets that eliminate entire food groups. So think of things like the HCG diet and the ABC diet, which are diets that encourage a very low calorie intake. We might also see things like the keto diet or the paleo diet, which encourages cutting out those whole major food groups. When we get to these extremely restrictive diet, the probability of developing a disordered relationship with food goes up. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to later go on to develop a full-blown eating disorder, but it does increase our likelihood that that may be a possibility. Another thing to consider when we think about dieting and whether or not it's going to eventually turn into some type of eating disorder is that the probability increases the earlier a person starts dieting, the more frequently the person diets, and the more intensely the person diets. And this is incredibly problematic as we are seeing individuals, particularly our young girls, beginning to diet at a very early age. Many of our young girls are beginning to diet as early as ages 10 to 14 and on multiple diets before they even reach the age of 18. Now, while only about 1% of those individuals may go on to develop a full-blown quote unquote eating disorder, we see as many as 40% of these individuals developing a disordered relationship around food. An eating disorder is almost never caused by one single behavior. So while dieting is one of the largest contributors for later development of an eating disorder, we also see things like genetics, family structure, and mental health disorders. When we think about the behaviors that are associated with dieting, we're going to see things like food restriction, lots of food rules, body checking, such as weighing yourself frequently or measuring with a measuring tape or comparing your body to other people. We're going to see things like calorie counting and excessive exercise in some cases. These are all behaviors that are associated with dieting and ironically are also all behaviors that are associated with eating disorders. So I just want you to give some food for thought to that, is that many of the behaviors that we see in dieting are also the exact same behaviors that we see with an eating disorder. However, in the eating disorder, the person just takes that to extreme levels. However, we can see how there is a heavy correlation with dieting and eating disorders as the behaviors often overlap.